Hello, my lovelies. It is time for another book haul, so stay tuned. So this has actually been a couple of months of accumulation because I haven't actually been buying as many physical books as I typically have been. Though I did recently buy some. But I have 25 books here over the past couple of months that I have to haul for you. So let's just get right into it. So the first few books came from, let's see, all of these were from different book boxes. So we have, this one was a book that came in as a gift for one of my Once Upon a Book Club books. And then these two were like the last remaining boxes from the Bookish Box. These are all my Harlequin Afterlight, I think is what it's called, books. These are all my Book of the Month books. And then from here, these are all ones that I either bought or were sent. So these up here are ones that I got from a Kickstarter. Then these four all came from a publisher. And then I have two that I bought at the bookstore and one that I pre-ordered. So a bit of a variety. We'll start with the bookish ones. So the first one is The Future of Another Timeline by Annalee Newitz. And something I just noticed is there's actually a Joker card in here with the corner bent, which is funny, like a bookish Joker card, because that's what in the book I was reading, she was reading this book and used this as a bookmark. So this says, if you can rewrite the past, you can control the future. 1992. After a confrontation at a Riot Grrrl concert, 17-year-old Beth finds herself in a car with her friend's abusive boyfriend dead in the back seat, agreeing to help her friends hide the body. This murder sets Beth and her friends on a path of escalating violence and vengeance as they realize many other young women in the world need protecting too. 2022. Determined to use time travel to create a safer future, Tess has dedicated her life to visiting key moments in history and fighting for change. But rewriting the timeline isn't as simple as editing one person or event. And just as Tess believes she's found a way to make an edit that actually sticks, she encounters a group of dangerous travelers bent on stopping her at any cost. Tess's and Beth's lives intertwine as war breaks out across the timeline, a war that threatens to destroy time travel and leave only a small group of elites with the power to shape the past, present, and future. Against the vast and intricate forces of history and humanity, is it possible for a single person's action to echo throughout the timeline? And there is a blurb here that says, the mind-blowing, punk, feminist, sci-fi, time-traveling thriller you've been waiting for. Okay, next up, this edition is so pretty. This is Assistant to the Villain. So it comes in like a box, and it looks like that. And then the book looks like this. It's so pretty. It has these beautiful end pages. And it is signed. This says, Assistant wanted. Notorious high-ranking villain seeks loyal, level-headed assistant for unspecified office duties, supporting staff for random mayhem and terror, and other dark things in general. Discretion a must. Excellent benefits. With ailing family to support, Evie Sage's employment status isn't just important, it's vital. So when a mishap with Renadon's most infamous villain results in a job offer, naturally, she says yes. No job is perfect, of course, but even less so when you develop a teeny crush on your terrifying, temperamental, and undeniably hot boss. Don't find evil so attractive, Evie. But just when she's getting used to severed head suspended from the ceiling and the odd squish of an errant eyeball beneath her heel, Evie suspects this dungeon has a huge rat. and not just the literal kind, because something rotten is growing in the kingdom of Renadon, and someone wants to take the villain and his entire nefarious empire out. Now Evie must not only resist drooling over her boss, but also figure out exactly who is sabotaging his work and ensure he makes them pay. After all, a good job is hard to find. Next up is The Ritual by Chantel Tesser. Also a beautiful book. This is what the back looks like. Beautiful end pages. It is signed. This says, The Chosen One. Barrington University is home of the Lords, a secret society that requires their blood in payment. They are above all the most powerful men in the world. They devote their lives to violence in exchange for power, and during their senior year, they are offered a chosen one. I vow, you vow, we vow. People think growing up with money is freeing, but I promise you it's not. My entire life has been planned out for me. I never got the chance to do what I wanted until Riot Alexander Archer came along and gave me an option for a better life. He offered me what no one else ever had, freedom. I chose to be his. He made me believe that anyway. But that was just another lie. A way that the Lords manipulate you into doing what they want. After being sucked into the dark, twisted world of the Lords, I embraced my new role and allowed Riot to parade me around like the trophy I was to him. But like all things, what started out as a game soon became a fight for survival, and the only way out was death. Okay, now for the Harlequin Afterlight. These are all like rom-com kind of books. So the first one is The Fake Dating Game by Timothy Janofsky. This says, Ready, Set, Foe. Holden James picked the worst time to have a meltdown. His chance to audition for his favorite game show, Madcap Market, should have been a moment of triumph, a glorious, loving homage to his adored mom who died 6 years ago. Instead, he's destroying the minibar in a grim Los Angeles hotel room, recently dumped, partnerless, and sliding into misery. But at least the hotel service is sublime. It even comes with an unfairly fit and sexy, smartass concierge who arrives at the door with pizza, Monopoly, and deliciously distracting forearms. All Holden knows about Leo Min is that he's beautiful, unexpectedly sympathetic, and the chemistry between them is beyond. Maybe it's even enough to convince everyone, including the show's casting directors, that they're a real couple. All they have to do is crush the competition and win the huge cash prize, and all of Holden's problems, his broken heart, his buried grief, his complete lack of money and direction will be fixed. Of course, reality doesn't quite work out that way, but love is an entirely different game. That sounds so cute. And I love how floppy these are, and I think these will be like fun, quick reads. Afterglow. So Harlequin Afterglow books. Not Afterlight, Afterglow. Okay, next up is Manila Takes Manhattan by Carla de Guzman. This one says, fans of Jasmine Glory and Helen Huang will adore this irresistibly engaging story of two Filipino celebrities caught between everything they want and everything they are. How do you follow your heart when it's in two places? Filipino musician and producer Mon Mendoza has been in New York for less than a day, just long enough to feel like he doesn't belong despite landing a life-changing opportunity. All he can do is set a date night for just himself and some pancit Canton, which, as it turns out, is the only invitation his gorgeous peony neighbor needs. Actress Olivia Angelis can wear a character like a well-fitted dress. It's her real self she's having a hard time fitting into, craving a niche in Hollywood that doesn't compromise her identity in the name of success. And right now, all she wants is comfort in the form of tasty noodles and her outrageously hot new neighbor. One night, just enough to lose herself in his touch and the feel of his lips. Only their sexy little tryst isn't quite what they signed up for, because the next month, Mon and Olivia are working on the same movie together. Now they're discovering they have a lot more in common than pianists and sizzling chemistry. But how do you find yourself and your person when you're caught between two different worlds? All right, next is The Devil in Blue Jeans by Stacey Kennedy. This says, a sharp emotional novel about a tough-minded bar owner who makes a deal with the devil of a cowboy and might just get burned. Moving to Montana to buy a dive bar with her two best friends sounds like a can't-miss idea to Carly Henwood. The scenery is breathtaking and the cowboys even more so. Not that Charlie's interested. Her heart is as unmovable as the surrounding mountains, thanks to her cheating ex. Making her bar, The Naked Moose, a success is Charlie's only priority. But it turns out the regulars don't take kindly to outsiders swapping their craft beer for an extensive cocktail menu. One regular in particular is not happy. The Naked Moose's previous owner, Jackson Reed. The last thing Charlie needs is a cocky cowboy telling her how to run her bar or her life. But maybe she can use Jackson to her advantage. If he'll agree to be the prize in a charity auction, Charlie will make the bar a little more cowboy-friendly. When that plan backfires, Carly finds herself doing battle with the biggest temptation in Timber Falls, a man who has made it his mission to win her, using every infernal means at his disposal. And if her resolve goes up in flames, her heart is sure to follow. Next is The Bookbinder's Guide to Love by Catherine Cabrera. And I think somebody just told me about this. Yep. This is a witchy, witty, wickedly sexy tale about love, books, friendship, and the unexpected connections that bind us together. Bookbinding, verb, the art of creating something magical out of fabric, leather, and paper. As a lonely foster kid, Serafina Conte's refuge was hand-making journals and writing her wishes within their pages. Now in the quirky New Age store she shares with her two best friends, Sarah's intentions have paid off. Her journals are in the spotlight and rumored to manifest great things. Whether it's witchy skills, real magic or not, Sarah's finally ready to be the leading lady of her life story, until her plot hits a twist. After the death of her mentor, Ford Sitwell, all the loneliness and insecurity of her past returns. The only balm is the box of antique books he left for her, but Ford's suspicious, brooding grandson, Wes, is ready to think the worst of her and get his grandfather's books back. The first part doesn't bother her. The second, forget it. Sarah won't give Wes the books so easily, but it's clear he's seeking something more, an emotional connection no book can replace. So she offers a deal. Work in her store for 6 weeks, and in return, she'll help him get closure by sharing memories of his late grandfather. Yes, Wes seems grumpy, but actually he's hot, and maybe kind, deep down. And when desire and vulnerability work their charms, Sarah begins to wonder if the best stories aren't the ones you intend, but the ones that take you where you least expected. And I heard this was really, really good. Give me 1 minute though, because I need to go get something to drink, because reading all of these is leaving me parched. So I'll be right back. Okay, next up we have Love and Sports Ball by Mecca James. This says, in this steamy and sweet sapphic romance, an uptight athlete trainer has one taboo night with a hot basketball player, but are they ready to play for what they really want? Scoring was the easy part. Hard work has Khadijah Upton starting her dream job as an athletic trainer for the Atlanta Cannons. Then an evening of celebratory letting loose turns into a one-night stand with a beautiful stranger. It's a reckless, wildly sexy encounter that Khadijah intends to forget, until her first day on the job lands her face-to-face with basketball star Shay Harris again. Shay is a major player in every sense of the word, and Khadijah doesn't plan to be the latest in a long line of Harris honeys. Personal and professional just don't mix. But Shay, who's all about living life to the fullest, keeps tempting Khadijah to blur the boundaries. And the more Shay reveals about herself, the harder it is for Khadijah to resist her. In the bedroom, their tension sizzles. On the court, it's a liability. But unless Khadijah's willing to really let Shay in, it won't be just the team championship on the line, but a body and soul connection that rewrites all the rules. Okay, next up we have Meet Me in a Mile by Elizabeth Harib. This says, Elizabeth Harib will have readers racing to the finish line when a Manhattan architect attempts to win over her office crush, set her on a collision course with a personal trainer who's got all the right moves. Lydia McKenzie is not a runner, not even close. But in her quest to be taken seriously at work and catch the eye of her office crush, she signs up for the New York City Marathon as part of her architectural firm's outreach program. Now she just needs to avoid making a fool of herself. Thankfully, she knows how to outsource. Personal trainer Luke Townsend is definitely a runner, and he's exactly what Lydia needs to get in shape. Experienced, motivational, funny, kind, well-muscled. And when he and Lydia bond over their redesign of the Manhattan Youth Center, a place near and dear to Luke's heart, their training time intensifies from hitting the pavement to hitting the sheets. Still counts as a workout, right? Suddenly, everything Lydia thought she wanted feels less clear, but she's determined not to let a little unplanned indiscretion derail her goals. There's no reason she and Luke can't keep training as if they don't share mind-blowing chemistry. They're professionals. But when a project proposal suddenly hangs in the balance and her office crush offers some awfully tempting one-on-one help, she'll have to decide which direction her heart wants to run. That sounds cute. Next up is How to Charm a Nerd by Catherine Cabrera. This says, she's kind of a witch, he's definitely a nerd, and this Halloween they're letting their geek flags fly in this playful romantic comedy from USA Today best-selling author Catherine Cabrera. Dungeons and Dragons and Nerds, oh my. The spooky season is almost here, and occultist and tarot reader Liberty Wakefield is already feeling it. But ever since her sick Nan muttered the name of Liberty's mysterious biological father, nothing feels normal. Not her friends, her family, nor the quirky shop she runs with her besties. So maybe it's time for Liberty to track down the father she's never met. Of course, that means getting a little help from the sexy nerd she's been not so secretly vibing since last summer. Merle Rutland hasn't met anyone like the vivacious, bubbly Liberty. Part of him wishes he was more like her, instead of hiding his geekery from his hyper-athletic family. The other part just wants to pull the curvy redhead close, steal a kiss, and hope he doesn't roll a critical fail. Only somewhere between Dungeons and Dragons campaigns, pumpkins, and a few ridiculously hot, sexy times, Liberty and Merle discover their respective weirds might be a match. Yet as Halloween draws closer, it seems everyone has skeletons in the closet, and nothing spells disaster quite like being haunted by the past. Cute. Next is Going Toe to Toe by Yoras St. John. This says, after their no-strings fling in paradise, Lyric and Devin never thought they'd see each other again, until they did. Now they have very different ideas about what the future holds. Sometimes you just have to take the leap. What happens in Aruba stays in Aruba. That's what former ballerina Lyric Taylor keeps telling herself, at least. After all, now that the curtain has closed on her ballet career, and with the search of her biological parents stalling, she could use a little distraction. So when a lodging mix-up leads to an unexpected fling in paradise with her sexy bunkmate Devin, Lyric takes the plunge. 7 days of sun, sand, and plenty of sizzle. And when it's time to go home, their no-strings sitch will come to an end, right? Single dad Devin Masters spent the last 8 years shielding his daughter Kiana from life's disappointments, and he's gotten pretty good at cutting pain off at the pass. But nothing can prepare him for this latest bombshell, discovering Lyric Taylor is Kiana's new dance teacher. What happened in Aruba seems to have followed them home, but they'll have to keep it under wraps for as long as they can. Soon, however, new feelings take hold and old wounds resurface. Will they finally find the rhythm they need to redefine what belonging truly means? Okay, now on to the Book of the Month books. So first off, we have The Lost Story by Meg Schaefer. This says, inspired by C.S. Lewis's The Chronicles of Narnia, this wild and wondrous novel is a fairy tale for grown-ups who still knock on the back of wardrobes just in case, from the author of The Wishing Game. As boys, best friend Jeremy Cox and Rafe Howell went missing in a vast West Virginia state forest, only to mysteriously reappear 6 months later with no explanation for where they'd gone or how they'd survived. 15 years after their miraculous homecoming, Rafe is a reclusive artist who still bears scars inside and out, but has no memory of what happened during those months. Meanwhile, Jeremy has become a famed missing persons investigator. With his uncanny abilities, he is the one person who can help vet tech Emily Wendell find her sister, who has vanished in the very same forest as Rafe and Jeremy. Jeremy alone knows the fantastical truth, that while the rest of the world was searching for them, the two missing boys were in a magical realm filled with impossible beauty and terrible danger. He still believes it's there, and that they will find Emily's sister. He believes it is there that they will find Emily's sister. But for his own inscrutable reasons, Jeremy has kept Rafe in the dark since their return. However, the time for burying secrets comes to an end as the quest for Emily's sister begins. The former Lost Boys must confront their shared past, no matter how traumatic the memories. Alongside the headstrong Emily, Rafe and Jeremy must return to the enchanted world they called home for 6 months, for only then can they get back everything and everyone they've lost. Next up is Honey by Isabel Banta. And this is an addictive coming-of-age story that follows the meteoric rise of pop star Amber Young as she navigates fame and self-discovery in the late 90s and early 2000s. It's 1997 and Amber Young has received a life-changing call. It's a chance thousands of girls would die for. The opportunity to join girl group Cloud9 in Los Angeles and escape her small town. She quickly finds herself in the orbits of fellow rising stars Gwen Morris, a driven singer-dancer, and Wes Kingston, a member of the biggest boy band in the world, ETA. As Amber embarks on a solo career, her rich interior life is frequently reduced, and she finds herself surrounded by people who claim to love her but wish only to exploit her. Driven by a desire for recognition and success, for love and sex, for agency and connection, Amber comes of age at a time when the kaleidoscope of public opinion can distort everything, and one mistake can shatter a career. Isabel Banta's debut novel, Honey, redefines the narratives of some of the most famous pop icons of the 90s and 2000s. It reimagines the superstars we idolized and hated, over-sexualized and underestimated, and gives them the fresh, multifaceted story they deserve. Next up is Margot's Got Money Troubles by Ruthie Thorpe. This says, a bold, laugh-out-loud, funny, and heartwarming story about one young woman's attempt to navigate adulthood, new motherhood, and her meager bank account in our increasingly online world. From the PEN/Faulkner finalist and critically acclaimed author of The Knockout Queen. As the child of a Hooters waitress and ex-pro wrestler, Margot Millet's always known she'd have to make it on her own. So she enrolls at her local junior college, even though she can't imagine how she'll ever make a living. She's still figuring things out and never planned to have an affair with her English professor, and while their affair is brief, it isn't brief enough to keep her from getting pregnant. Despite everyone's advice, she decides to keep the baby, mostly out of naivete and a yearning for something bigger. Now at 20, Margot is alone with an infant, unemployed, and on the verge of eviction. She needs a cash infusion fast. When her estranged father, Jinx, shows up on her doorstep and asks to move in with her, she agrees in exchange for help with childcare. Then Margot begins to form a plan. She'll start an OnlyFans as an experiment. Soon she finds herself adapting some of Jinx's advice from the world of wrestling, like how to craft a compelling character and make your audience fall in love with you. Before she knows it, she's turned it into a runaway success. Could this be the answer to all of Margot's problems? Or does internet fame come with too high of a price? Blisteringly funny and filled with sharp insight, Margot's Got Money Troubles is a tender tale starring an endearing young heroine who's struggling to wrest money and power from a world that has little interest in giving it to her. It's a playful and honest examination of the art of storytelling and controlling your own narrative, and an empowering portrait of coming into your own both online and off. Okay, next up is Not in Love by Allie Hazelwood. This says, a forbidden secret affair proves that all's fair in love and science, from best-selling author Allie Hazelwood. Rue Seibert might not have it all, but she has enough. A few friends she can always count on, the financial stability she yearned for as a kid, and a successful career as a biotech engineer at Klein, one of the most promising startups in the field of food science. Her world is stable, pleasant, and hard-fought, until a hostile takeover and its offensively attractive frontman threaten to bring it all crumbling down. Eli Kilgore and his business partners want Klein, period. Eli has his own reasons for pushing this deal through, and he's a man who gets what he wants, with one burning exception, Rue. The woman he can't stop thinking about, the woman who's off limits to him. Torn between loyalty and an undeniable attraction, Rue and Eli throw caution out the lab and boardroom windows. Their affair is secret, no strings attached, and has a built-in deadline, the day one of their companies prevails. But the heart is risky business. That plays for keeps. Okay, next up is The Rom-Comers by Catherine Center. And this says, she's rewriting his love story, but can she rewrite her own? Emma Wheeler desperately longs to be a screenwriter. She spent her life studying, obsessing over, and writing romantic comedies, good ones, that win contests. But she's also been the sole caregiver for her kind-hearted dad who needs full-time help. Now, when she gets a chance to rewrite a script for famous screenwriter Charlie Yates, the Charlie Yates, her personal writing god, it's a break too big to pass up. Emma's younger sister steps in for dad duty, and Emma moves to LA for 6 weeks for the writing gig of a lifetime. But what is it they say? Don't meet your heroes. Charlie Yates doesn't want to write with anyone, much less a failed nobody screenwriter. Worse, the romantic comedy he's written is so terrible it might actually bring on the apocalypse. Plus, he doesn't even care about the script. It's just a means to get a different one greenlit. Oh, and he thinks love is an emotional Ponzi scheme. But Emma's not going down without a fight, and she'll stand up for herself and for rom-coms and for love itself. She will convince Charlie that love stories matter, even if she has to kiss him senseless to do it. But what if that kiss is accidentally amazing? What if real life turns out to be so much more real than fiction? What if the love story they're writing breaks all of Emma's rules and comes true? Next up is The Paradise Problem by Christina Lauren. This says, Christina Lauren returns with a delicious new romance between the buttoned-up heir of a grocery chain and the free-spirited artist as they fake their relationship in order to receive a massive inheritance. Anna Green thought she was marrying Liam Weston for access to subsidized family housing while at UCLA. She also thought she'd signed divorce papers when the graduation caps were tossed, and they both went their merry ways. 3 years later, Anna is a starving artist living paycheck to paycheck, while Liam is a Stanford professor. He may be one of 4 heirs to the Weston Foods conglomerate, but he has little interest in working for the heartless corporation his family built from the ground up. He is interested, however, in his $100 million inheritance. There's just one catch. Due to an antiquated clause in his grandfather's will, Liam can't claim the money until he's been happily married for 5 years. Just when Liam thinks he's in the home stretch, pressure mounts from his family to see this mysterious spouse, and he has no choice but to turn to the one person he's afraid to introduce to his 1% parents, his unpolished, not-so ex-wife. But in the presence of his family, Liam's fears quickly shift from whether the feisty, foul-mouthed, paint-splattered Anna can play the part to whether the toxic world of wealth will corrupt someone as pure of heart as his surprisingly grounded and supportive wife. Liam will have to ask himself if the price tag on his flimsy cover story is worth losing true love that sprouted from a lie. Okay, so now on to these here, which were the Kickstarter thing I did. So the top little bit is not actually a book. Well, it's more of a journal, but this one is a book. So let me show you all the extras. This was a Cassandra Clare Kickstarter. So first off, I have So Your House is Cursed, a guide for the perplexed. And it's written very tiny, but it's just that. And then we got some fun Polaroids of the characters. I also got a few vinyl stickers. And then here's the journal. There's art throughout. It's one of those like dot kind of journals. And then we have a first chapter sampler of The Wicked Powers, which is cool. And then the book, which is Secrets of Blackthorn Hall by Cassandra Clare. And this says, remember you are the steel and the temper of those who have gone before you. Let me see if I can find a synopsis of what this is supposed to be. Okay, I was able to pull it up on Goodreads because it doesn't really say anything on here. Julian and Emma are on their travel year when the Clave sends Julian a message: clean up Blackthorn Hall or ownership reverts back to the Clave. Amidst the cluster and disrepair, they discover secrets that Blackthorn Hall has kept hidden for years. They find out something or someone else might be sharing the space with them. They'll also entertain visitors like Jim, Tessa, Christina, Mark, Kieran, Kit, Ty, Drew, and more. Emma and Julian of the Dark Artifices move temporarily to London to fix up the crumbling Blackthorn Hall, only to find that among the various objects that belong to their ancestors, there might be a spectral presence that wishes them harm. Secrets of Blackthorn Hall is an illustrated, serialized epistolary novel by Cassandra Clare that was released online for free and now in print as part of the Seasons of Shadowhunter Kickstarter campaign. The story takes place roughly starting in January 2014, about a year and a half after the Dark Artifices, and takes course over the span of a few months, ending about the year before the Wicked Powers. It centers on the characters from the Dark Artifices, but also delves into the history of those from the Last Hours and the Infernal Devices through books and old papers found in the house. It says, for better understanding of the story, please make sure you've read all of the Shadowhunter books released as of 2024, as there will be spoilers. TLH being the last book series released before this book. Okay, then we get to the books that were sent to me by publishers. So the first one is Death at Morning House by Maureen Johnson. This says, did anyone mention you're taking over for a dead guy? The fire wasn't Marlo Wexler's fault. Dates should be hot, but not hot enough to warrant literal firefighters. Akila, the girl Marlo has been in love with for years, will never go out with her again. No one dates an accidental arsonist. With her house-sitting career up in flames, it seems the universe owes Marlo a new summer job, and that's how she ends up at Morning House, a mansion built on an island in the 1920s and abandoned shortly thereafter. It's easy enough giving tours, low risk of fire, high chance of getting bored, talking about stained glass and nut cutlets and prohibition. Oh, and the deaths. Did anyone say anything about the deaths? Maybe this job isn't such a gift after all. Morning House has a horrific secret that's been buried for decades, and now the person who brought her here is missing. All it takes is one clue to set off a catastrophic chain of events. One small detail, just like a spark, could take it all down if someone doesn't take Marlo down first. I think this will be a fun read. Okay. So this next one is actually 3 copies of the same book because the publisher sent me 1 for myself and 2 to give away. So that is The 13th Child by Aaron A. Craig. And just look at this cover. It's stunning and creepy, like with all the skulls around it. This says, Hazel Trepass has always known she wasn't like her siblings. A 13th child, a promise to one of the gods, she spends her childhood waiting for her benefactor, Merrick, the god of death, to arrive and take her away. When he does, he lays out exactly what he's planned for Hazel's future. She will become a great and celebrated healer. To aid her endeavors, Merrick blesses Hazel with a gift, the ability to instantly deduce the exact cure needed to treat the sick. But all gifts come with a price. Hazel can see when death has claimed a patient and is tasked with ending their suffering permanently. Haunted by the ghost of those she's killed, Hazel longs to run, but destiny brings her to the royal court, where she meets Leopold, a rakish prince with a disdain for everyone and everything. And that's where Hazel faces her biggest dilemma yet. Should she save the life of a king marked to die? Hazel knows what she is meant to do and what her heart is urging her toward. But what will happen if she goes against the will of death himself? From the astonishing mind of Aaron A. Craig comes a breathtaking fairy tale retelling readers have been waiting for. What does a life well lived mean, and how do we justify the impossible choices we make for the ones we love? Okay, so these next 2 are the ones that I bought from Barnes & Noble. So the first one is The Story Collector by Evie Woods. And this says, in a quiet village in Ireland, a mysterious local myth is about to change everything. 100 years ago, Anna, a young farm girl, volunteers to help an intriguing American visitor translate fairy stories from Irish to English. But all is not as it seems, and Anna soon finds herself at the heart of a mystery that threatens her very way of life. In present-day New York, Sarah Harper boards a plane bound for the west coast of Ireland. But once there, she unearths dark secrets that could change the course of her life. Next is The Rebel King by Gina L. Maxwell. And I don't know if I can read you the back of this one, because this is the second book in the series. So let me just tell you about the first book, which is The Dark King. And I will say, if you like the smut that, say, Katie Robert writes, but you maybe want a little more plot, I think you'll enjoy this series because it's definitely got some smut, but there's a bit more plot to it. So for The Dark King, it says, for Bryn Mira, a free trip to the exclusive and ultra-luxe Nightfall Hotel and Casino in Vegas should have been the perfect way to escape the debris of her crumbling career. But waking up from a martini and lust-fueled night to find herself married to Caden Varon, the reclusive billionaire who owns the hotel and most of the city, isn't the jackpot one would think. It seems her dark and sexy new husband is actual royalty, the Fae King of the Night Court, and there's an entire world beneath the veil of Vegas. Whether light or shadow, the Fae are a far cry from fairy tales, and now they've made Bryn a pawn in their dark games for power, and Caden is the most dangerous of all, an intoxicating cocktail of sin and raw insatiable hunger. She should run, but every night of passion pulls Bryn deeper into his strange and sinister world until she's no longer certain she wants to leave, even if she could. Well, actually, it says here each book in the Deviant series is a standalone, so I guess I can read you about this. So let's do that. All work and no wicked play makes Tiernan a very unsatisfied king. Of all the Varon brothers, Tiernan is the least suited to wear the Night Court crown. The rebel prince is happy with no responsibilities or accountability, just the freedom to pursue his own dark, lush pleasures in Sin City, including his secret hunger for a certain smart-mouthed, fiery redhead. Only the possibility of having Fiona is stripped away when Tiernan is thrust into the one role he never wanted, king. As king of the dark fae, wanting, let alone pursuing, anything with a lower caste fae like Fiona would shift from fun to forbidden. Now war is emerging from the shadows of Vegas, and Tiernan is caught between who he's meant to be and who he wants. And somewhere in this maelstrom of lust, love, and rebellion is the key to the dark fae's survival, even if the cost is more than he can imagine. I will also say that each of these has a bit of a fairy tale retelling aspect. So the Dark King is Beauty and the Beast. And I don't want to say what this one is, but you might have figured it out. But you will definitely figure it out when you read the first one because it kind of hints at what that is going to be. I'm very excited to read it. Okay, then the last one here is one that I pre-ordered. This is The Games Gods Play by Abigail Owen, and this is a stunning edition. These beautiful end pages. The book looks like so. This says, the gods love to play with us mere mortals, and every 100 years we let them. I've never been favored by the gods, far from it, thanks to Zeus. Living as a cursed office clerk for the Order of Thieves, I just keep my head down and hope the capricious beings who rule from Olympus won't notice me. Not an easy feat given San Francisco is Zeus's patron city, but I make do. I survive. Until the night I tangle with a different god. The worst god, Hades. For the first time ever, the ruthless, mercurial king of the underworld has entered the crucible. The deadly contest the gods hold to determine a new ruler to sit on the throne of Olympus. But instead of fighting their own battles, the gods name mortals to compete in their stead. So why in the underworld did Hades choose me, a sarcastic nobody with a curse on her shoulders, as his champion? And why does my heart trip every time he says I'm his? I don't know if I'm a pawn, bait, or something else entirely to this dangerously tempting God. How can I, when he has more secrets than stars in the sky? Because Hades is playing by his own rules, and death will win at any cost. Okay, so those are all of the books in this haul. Have you read any of them? Did you like them? Did you not? Comment down below and let me know. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give me a big thumbs up. If you'd like to see more videos like this, click that subscribe button down below. And until next time, remember to always be completely you. Bye!